Alright, we are recording, continuing in Mad Max. It does not feel like it was only a week ago that I was in Going Medieval. It's been a busy week. Anyway, key was provided by WB Games back when I originally reviewed this, which was 2015. And Going Medieval, that key was provided by Tinsel PR for, is that Do Villager? I am sorry, I don't remember who it is now. There's a reason I make that note. Anyway, what am I looking to do? Is this something here, or? Must be something new. Because I don't see that icon on the map. But it's also that there's...
Mama, when will we go to the door in the sand?
Alright. Yeah, let's do that. And... jump. Yeah, so do have a few things to talk about. I guess I can start with that. I did spend Wednesday lubricating and filming the JWK silent linear switches. And by the way, when I say I spent Wednesday doing it, I mean I spent Wednesday doing it. I blame the fact that I was lubricating the springs as well for why it took so much longer than when I just lubricated the other one, the non-silent one. I could have lubed the springs for those. I just chose not, in case wondering, in case I really need to be stated. Hello? And I'm recording this on Friday. But sometimes I forget to say that. I think I should. So a couple days, and I mentioned in the write-up I did on lubricating the normal linears, not these silent ones, not these dampened, that the
Hear that? What's up?
after lubricating them, it felt like there was some drag on the switches, on the action. And that, I figured at the time, was potentially just the lubricant needing to basically break in, needing to settle where it is. It's like that was my first impression with it, and after like a day or two, the drag was gone. Same thing exactly happened with where like yesterday, Thursday, the day after I finished doing this, I was already noticing a lot of it had gone away. They are noticeably quieter, by the way, as well. We'll see how that changes. And also, some of that could be just I start typing faster, because I get used to it. But yeah, lubricating the spring definitely has helped as far as the spring noise. Every now and then it feels like there's a spring that the switch is still making a little bit of noise, so at some point I might try opening them up and do touch-up work. But for now, though, no, I can tell they're quieter. I don't know how well some of it will survive the additional time.
There it is, stuck behind the grating.
What is it?
Some kind of billboard. But to get it, I have to go around and find a way into that storm drain.
That's in the Dead Barrens, Saint. We have to go around. Dead Barrens Pass is the nearest entry.
Okay. Damn, I just realized. closer? Can I not fetch? Why can I not fetch? There we go. Now I'm gonna grab the buggy since I do know where at least one might. So anyway, getting back to the Switch, it's probably 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I will do another article, another review of just them. But getting to the interesting stuff, the more interesting stuff. Just as soon as
Let's do this, dog.
So the Intel news definitely I mean, that's... I got... Let me just quickly... There's a whole one thing I have here that isn't that new. Isn't related to that news. Horrible for me. The buggy is in no way what you want when dealing with these guys. Alright. So, now that I don't have this distraction. So, Intel had... And I'll be honest, I don't know fully the timeline of stuff here. But there was like one day where they made some announcements, and then a few days later, was like the actual architecture day. When they shared a lot more information. But I think it was on that first day, not that it particularly matters which day, that they announced their branding for the discrete GPUs is ARC, A-R-C, not ARC, A-R-K. That is the very nice and helpful database, basically every Intel processor. Seriously, that is a wonderful tool, and there's a reason why it's not uncommon to see people say, AMD, please make your own version. Yeah, so they could have done better with the naming. And looking, I did see one of the videos associated with it, and it, give me a break here. Yeah, there it is. I'm gonna see if I can escape it. I don't think I can, but I'll try. The reasoning behind ARC was presented as because of Intel's ARC, the story of making these things, and it's like, that's a silly reason. I'm sorry, it's like, come on. You are Intel. This is your first foray into consumer GPUs that might actually work. May actually have some success. I guess Layer B, though, never actually came to consumers, did it? But in any case, it's like, you really could come up with something better. The code names, however, those are nice. With the first, basically DG2, Discrete Graphics 2, is what that code name had been, is now Alchemist. And it will be succeeded by Battle Mage, then Celestial, then Druid? I believe that's it. I'm driving, so I'm not looking at the phone. I mean, hey, that's how it should be, right? And it looks like I did actually have so there's two things to notice there. One, I will admit I didn't catch right. But the whole naming, being these, like, fantasy RPG classes is very appropriate for a for gaming GPUs or any gaming product. I do like that. I appreciate that. Better than Arc. But the other thing that I honestly didn't notice it until I looked at the Ian Cuttress's video talking about it, his breakdown of the announcement stuff. That it's also A, B, C, D. It's like that. I did not notice that. I'm a little saddened that I did not notice that, but at the same time, it's like I'm happy with that. Good. At least until you get to Zephyr. It's like, what are you gonna do at that point? But yeah, I mean, it's like that. It's nice to do that. I'm also just curious, what are they gonna do for we go to Elf? Elder? Like elder magic kind of thing? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. Some non-specific specification information, I guess would be one way to put it, was revealed. Things like how they reshaped they're using... Okay. Stepping back. AMD and NVIDIA both do their thing where they basically have certain modules that contain all you need for a GPU, or nearly all you need. So that's in like the compute cores, the shader, well, the compute shaders, the samplers, things like that, all in a single package. I think NVIDIA calls them SMs. I don't remember what AMD... Oh, probably compute units for AMD CUs. No, I only go down there, but the department's there. Instead, I think I abandoned.
Not now.
Oh yeah, that's right. He does want to be in mine. Anyway, Intel's thing will be render slices, and they will contain XE cores for this stuff. Which the XE cores are changed, but like they contain so many of the execution units that Intel has been using for the naming. And they will have, I think it was shown as, come on, let me call the Magma. Come on, there we go. I don't remember the breakdown, but anyway, they did share that. And one thing that was interesting, I saw in the Anantech piece, they talked about it, that the numbers being shared, even though we don't know clock speed, some of them would put it on par for the vector work with Ampere, the current stuff from NVIDIA.
You did it!
Oh, didn't realize that I was still anchored onto that. But what was... I mean, that on its own, not too surprising. I mean, it's like if you wanted to compete with them, you know, try to have performance comparable. But Alchemist will have matrix processors on there. I don't remember what... It's like MXM or MXC is the naming of the unit? Whatever. What's interesting is that they, based on what Nantech was stating from the information they saw, it may have double the throughput of NVIDIA's Tensor Core. And yes, matrices and Tensor Cores are kind of sort of related. I looked it up because I do remember that there are some cell differences, but if you look at a tensor, you think that it's just like a higher dimensional matrix. So like a scalar would be like a single unit. a vector is scalars, I guess would be one way to put it. Multiple elements together, but it's in one dimension, along one dimension. So like XYZ coordinates would be a vector. X is a single scalar. A matrix is then like multiple vectors. I don't remember if they always have to be... Well, no, technically matrix doesn't have to be square, but in certain way, for certain things you're working with, they would need to be square. Tensors are then, because a matrix is two-dimensional, tensors are n-dimensional, so you can imagine a 3D version. There can also be 4D and 5D and so on version. There's more to it than that, because one of the things I saw, because I was checking on this, because like I remember they were similar, but I also remember there is some difference. I don't necessarily want to go in. I don't think I can. Oh. One of the differences is that a matrix... The way a matrix would differ from a two-dimensional tensor is a matrix is basically holding information. It's just a means of storing it. Whereas with a tensor is actually something that exists within the system. What the hell does that mean? That means that if... Let's... I'm just trying to think what would be a good example. Can I use something in the game here? As the environment the tensor is in changes, so will the tensor change. Whereas that is not necessarily true for me.
Ominous. Leads down to utter darkness.
I'll go check it. You bring the car down if you see it later.
Oh, I want not for it, but I will.
So, yeah, that intel would be doubling down, potentially, literally double the performance. No, double the food.
Find a way into that storm drain.
Of the tensor cores is curious. Because right now they basically have no use outside of like DLSS, at least for consumer part.
Maintenance tunnel.
I mean, yeah, sure. For certain other uses, there are some things that having that kind of
something's lurking in there.
acceleration capability is useful for, but not much. I mean, it's not even all AI, which I am annoyed that some people seem to only associate artificial intelligence, machine learning methods with tensor cores. It's like, if you're doing that work, you have to be using tensor cores. No, you don't. You really don't. Tensor cores is useful for some stuff, but not all. But it's also like I still feel, and it's fine if I'm wrong at this. It still feels that way though, that that DLSS in part only exists to give tensor cores a reason to exist in consumer parts. And I've said that before. It's like they have no use in games, but NVIDIA made Volta and apparently decided to instead of cutting them out for the consumer parts, it was more like, can we come up with a use for these so that we can leave it in? Simplify design. And the answer was, I guess we can do this. That would allow, can improve performance by rendering at low resolution and having a trained neural network then, help with upscaling it. Good, do that. Salt ended up being crap at first, but, they've improved. Have to give them credit for that. DLSS 2.0 is better than 1. And I will talk about, because Intel also announced their own response to DLSS, and it is quite interesting. So yeah, I don't know why Intel is necessarily going to that. I mean, unless... Oh, okay. Yeah, look. I mean, in theory, you might be able to figure out some way to pack stuff into the matrices, into the tensors, so that that hardware can be used for other things, but otherwise it would just be useless silicon there. But yeah, it will be interesting. But it's also, maybe Intel is aware of something that will prove useful, that will make it useful. Okay. Yeah, so the next thing oh, yeah, that makes it, want to make sure I don't need any more. The new target launch for Alchemist will be, Q1 next year. Which is, yes, mildly disappointing, because I think the initial target was...
Just gotta get this thing out of here.
Was end of this year. But, that apparently is not gonna happen. Though we will be getting more information the end of this year. Well, before the end of this year. Okay, I'm gonna go back through, because I want to get whatever's scrapping. And for anyone wondering, I'd be willing to give an Intel, and I think I've said this before, but not for a while. I'd be willing to give an Intel GPU a try. I mean, certainly, it is certainly interesting for a few reasons. One is they don't have a legacy that they need to adhere to, which is the case for both AMD and NVIDIA. You know, it's like they have things designed a certain way. Those two companies have things designed a certain way, and they probably need to keep to that way to a certain degree, at least. Whereas Intel is able to very much fresh slate it. But it's also, it's a new team that they had to put together to do this. So it's it's not going to be as easy for them to hit it out of the park to start with. But, I mean, it doesn't need to be something that yeah, the fact there's enemies back does tell me it's like if they just have moderate success with it, that's still major for them. Yeah. Isn't this back towards the entrance? Yes, it is. Might be that there's some outside.
There you are, my saint!
The funny thing is, I have a feeling I did exactly this before one of the previous times I played. Yeah, but anyway, getting to the XESS, so their super sampling thing, which it's annoying to see some of the comments related to it. An Antitech, I couldn't find a more or less definitive thing. I couldn't find anything from Intel talking about just that in the press release. I guess it was only stuff that was provided to different news outlets like an Antitech. And I didn't see the Antitech piece. I don't think it was out at the time I put out my thing on OCC talking about the various Intel stuff, so I used a TechSpot source. But anyway, looking at that Antitech piece, it's like, there's some people that I wish they weren't. I mean, I know it's a normal thing. I'm sure I've done it plenty of times before, but the whole, like, arguing from a point of ignorance as though you know exactly what you're talking about. Because, like, it's not super sampling. DLSS is not super sampling. Intel's thing is not super sampling. Yeah, at least with AMD, it's Fidelity FX Super Resolution, which kinda is more appropriate. But it's... Super sampling would be to increase the sampling. Hence why the super sampling method is called what it is. These are not super sampling, they're actually subsampling. They're using fewer samples. And then just, and then using clever methods to upscale. I mean, I saw somebody arguing that, you know, that you shouldn't be comparing these technologies to FSR because it's not super sampling. It's not AI based or super sampling. It's like, okay, they're not super sampling either. I feel one could argue that they're technically not AI either. At least DLSS. I'm not sure if it really counts because it uses a trained neural network. The training of the neural network, yes, that would be AI. That would be machine learning. But it's not running an AI on the system. It's more like the AI wrote a book, and what the tensor cores are doing on your local system is reading the book. It's like that's how I would put it more so. And it's not that is not in and of itself. Oh, okay. The book. I couldn't make out that there was actually someone to stand down. So it's like, yeah, I'm not sure if you can say it's actually running AI on, like DLSS is running an AI on your thing. But it is a trained neural network. That is machine learning. But it's done off-site, I'm trying to remember what it's called. There's a specific term for not just pre-compute. What is that? It is pre-compute. But there's a specific term for when you're basically rendering the thing not real time. I just can't think of it. But that's essentially what the trained neural network is it's just done ahead of time and then stored. So yeah, it's like the AI is part of it, not all of it, and it's certainly not. None of it is super. Please stop calling guys. And it's also kind of like how I will argue with the whole. Some people are like, "Oh, it's such an amazing thing because of there we go. DLSS because of its reconstruction. It's like reconstruction is not new. Reconstruction is old. Also, AI is old. It's like OCR, optical character recognition, is an old example of artificial intelligence, machine learning being used to improve the recognition of the characters. All these things that are actually quite old are being considered very new. Kind of depressing. Let me see, what else do I have? Oh, yeah, I guess I should also talk about some of the specifics related to XeSS. It looks like it's fundamentally similar to DLSS 2.0. What there's one thing that it showed, and we're not getting any details, but we really don't know much. But one thing that I don't remember if it's a feature of DLSS or not is the frame jittering. So part of the XeSS that showed in the image is applying a jitter to the frame, which makes perfect sense and is already done by plenty. Because it would be basically amortized super sampling. That you jitter so that way you're not always sampling just at the center of a pixel. So, given time and little movement or no movement, you would end up having the equivalent of a highly actually super sampled image, whether that's it depends on where how you jitter, where you would have the samples altered. I was like, that makes sense, and it's very possible DLSS 2.0 does it, and I just don't remember.
Tear that tire right off! We rob it all! We go in! We kill! Immortal beast!
But it is a good thing to do. It will also use, based on the same graphic that showed the jitter, motion information. So this is one thing that is important, is besides it using an AI system, some sort of AI training, like DLSS, it also uses temporal information, both motion vectors, it appears, and temporal supersamples, meaning previous frames, although with slight offsets there. From the jitter, in order, all that gets fed into the engine that figures out, okay, what should the upscaled result look like? Someone wants to match this. And Intel is claiming, very impressive numbers, which, let's face it, that you can claim that anyway. Anyone would, so it's whatever. We'll see. But here's what's really important about it, is that Intel has apparently decided that that they're going to be
It needs repairs.
they're going to open source it. And not only that, they are going to have two versions available for this. One where the AI system is run on those matrix cores that are in the Intel CPUs, the things that can do tensors. But another version that will just run on DP4A supporting GPUs, meaning we will have essentially a DLSS 2.0 like technology, not a competitor, which FSR is. FSR 1.0 is, but it's not a true technological competitor to it. With this XESS, we're going to have a true technological competitor, it looks like, that will run on arbitrary hardware. Maybe not completely arbitrary, but anything, most things modern. This is what I've seen. I've never heard of this instruction set before. Not that I would hear of many GPU instruction sets anyway. But it's like we need to. I would like to see a list of what GPUs actually support all that. Okay. I'm trying to decide. Let's. And I'm gonna get. Okay.
Soon the Red Eyes will exit their lairs for their wild hunt.
Yeah, let's still. They're out there. So yeah, but we're gonna have this DLSS technological competitor, counterpart, whatever, available for any GPU that has this apparently somewhat standard technology on it. So it's going to be very interesting to see what NVIDIA's response may prove to be. And also the whole, at some point they will open source the tool and the SDK. Because, it's like, will NVIDIA be like, oh crap, okay, DLSS 2.0 no longer needs to run on, DLSS 3.0 no longer needs to run 10 cores. In theory, they could. I kind of doubt that they will, because I would say that they are just obstinate enough as a company that they would never admit that their technology isn't exclusive. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I don't think that that's gonna happen. I could see them open sourcing some of it potentially, but it would still be locked to the Tensor Core. I'm also curious to see what AMD will do in response, because one thing that I saw pointed out when Fidelity FX Super Resolution was announced was that AMD was apparently very specific with developers that were implementing. Basically saying, you need, if you're supporting it, you need to label it 1.0.
I will protect your Saint. But don't be long.
Implying then that we will see versions, which is interesting, because we haven't really seen anything more on that, even though it's already gone open source. So I do wonder if this may help encourage, Intel's announcement may help encourage AMD to release like a 1.1 or 2.0, that it would make sense that they would go to having a, not necessarily one that uses any kind of trained, any kind of AI akin to, that's why I couldn't move. I thought that the cable broke. It didn't.
It rams us!
That was bad. But if they might move to using some kind of a solution that does support temporal supersequence, having temporal information. I was hoping I could dodge by. I've not been very lucky this stream, have I?
All right, ready to go.
Okay, that actually was lucky. I have no idea how I managed. What enabled that to be one shot before them. Anyway. Yeah, so I do wonder if AMD may be... This may force AMD to upgrade FSR in some way. Which I don't doubt that they're working on such upgrades. I mean, it would seem weird for them to not. But it is also, I would say, very important that they have released FSR as it is, because it's a, hey, it works. It's very easy to implement kind of stuff. It's like, that is important. And also then, you can have various feature levels, essentially, to FSR. One that is this, where it's basically, it works with everything. One that could be temporal, which would be, but one that would use temporal information, which would be more complicated, a little bit harder to integrate, but could still be supported by everything. And then maybe a third level that would be more of the, it's like, okay, now we have this special trained AI thing to help with it, to make it better. And it's just, they're going to take their time in releasing the stuff to have it in the form, in the version they want. So also announced with the Intel Architecture Day stuff was more information on Alder Lake, which is the hybrid CPU architecture that Intel's working on. So it will combine high-performance P cores with higher efficiency E cores. And I'm trying to remember, Golden Cove, I think is the name of the P cores for Alder Lake, and it's Gracemont for the efficiency cores. I think that's it. I don't remember, but we did get more information on it. Things like how the E cores are actually going to be superior to Skylake cores, which that's the 6000 series, I think it is. They can just go. I'm not going to.
Yeah. We didn't have a clue what was coming.
But it is interesting, and also some of the scheduling stuff. Apparently, it will. Intel's working with Microsoft to make sure that things are
Lord Scrotus didn't hit hard enough.
Because having such a very different topology is going to make some things more complicated.
They won't see me coming in this. Not right away.
I guess I think I've tried it before. I can't take it to because I've not been there. No, I'll just go this way. So I think it was something like first it would try to load up all the P cores, then it will load up the E cores, and then it will start loading up the logical threads on the P cores, because only those will have SMT, hyperthreading, whatever you want to call it. But it will also have, Alder Lake will have this thread director, which will be an embedded microcontroller on the chip. Well, on the package, somewhere there. That will monitor things so that tasks will be put onto the proper thread. Because I don't know if this is accurate, but let's assume it is, just for the hell of it. Now, right now, with how I'm playing a video game, you would have some elements, like probably draw calls, I would think, being on the P cores, so you get the maximum performance out of the CPU. Maybe the AI over on the E core, but also maybe the encoding could be done on the E cores as well, because some of that, because I'm only at 1080, so that's something you don't need a very fast CPU for that, but having multiple threads helps a lot. So I could, it's like, you might see something like that, in which case then you would need something like this thread director that can recognize what the task is, how it's loading how it's loading the cores, and then say to the OS, hey, you should move these over here, it'll be a better result. And yeah, it makes perfect sense that Intel will be working with Microsoft, and the way the press release described it made it sound like Intel basically had a wish list of stuff that they wanted for their use, and the techs at Microsoft working on Windows 11 took that and then went even further. But one thing that this has led me to wonder about some Ah, crap. Well, no, they might. Nope, they're not. But the thing I'm kind of wondering about is, might we see like a new generation for multi-core, multi-thread optimization? And I don't mean that as the somewhat generic, just optimizing so that it's like, oh yes, these threads should just go to the E cores, these threads should go to the P cores if possible. I don't mean something just like that, but like something that would be more generic, more abstract, I mean. Because, yes, games today are multi-threaded, but a lot of them are not very multi-threaded. It's like they'll still use like just 4 threads, 6 threads. It's like you can get 8-core, 16-thread CPUs fairly easily today. So that we don't necessarily see games that, there are some, but they aren't that many, that take advantage of a whole lot of cores. I do wonder if we might see a change then towards applying that kind of optimization where it would be happening. You would be seeing that level of optimization.
I was gonna kill him!
These are the same. Because, I mean, that would be nice to see basically optimization be improved such that everyone benefits. Just a better, but it is also, multi-thread optimization is not an easy thing. I am aware of that. It's like, I could believe that there are people out there that that's all they do. That is their entire professional career. And they can just go from company to company to company. That's like, hey, we need somebody to do the multi-thread optimization here, and that's all this person does. I could definitely believe that very much exists. Yeah, I mean, and this could really upset that. The alder-core hybrid design could really upset that, but it's coming. I mean, it's like that. This hybrid approach is part of the future for compute. It just is. How long have I been going? I know I'm not going to succeed at it. I'm going to try. To just hit these 2 and not waste more time than that. And hopefully it'll only take me until like an hour. But yeah, so I am intrigued by Alder Lake. I think we can say that yes, AMD will also have a hybrid design like that at some point. It's also worth knowing that at one point, okay, I will. At one point, AMD, this was many years ago, their interest in heterogeneous compute was to the level that some were predicting that AMD would ultimately release a single, trying to remember if there was a special name for it, but basically a CPU that combines x86 with ARM and a GPU all on the same silicon.
Sit tight.
Yes, gladly. It is my sacred place.
Hey, shut up! This is my little lookout. Don't give me away. Listen instead to a wizened brother. The big convoys who pass here, they don't go now unless you take all of the armored tanks first. And that advice, friend, it's for free.
So it's like AMD has had the idea of doing stuff like that for a long time. And also, I'll just say, I thought the Intel. Oh, that's not good. And I don't think that I should actually do this, but I'm not going into you want me. I'm just gonna take out the defense. Again, I don't think that'll stick for when I come back. So yeah, I could definitely believe that we will see, and also with AMD's many years now of chiplet, that having a hybrid design is like, well, yeah, of course that's gonna be a thing with AMD. And oh yeah, that's right, there have actually been rumors as well to that effect. Things coming with it. Like the Zen 5? I think it might be Zen 5 that would be like the first one going to the rumor, but it has been since I saw that thing. I do have one last piece of information, news that was probably something I want to talk about, is because like this is a legitimate thing, but it was also kind of funny to see. Mentioned Ian Cuttress, Dr. Ian Cuttress earlier. He had another video out this week on Tech Potato, his YouTube channel, that was, his point is valid. His ire over it might be more than most people, but his point is very valid. So there was a piece of news this week that I don't remember exactly what it was, other than I think it was Swedish. But that a group had calculated pi out further than anyone has gone yet. The thing is, and like people were declaring they've achieved this record. Problem is, as he pointed out, it hasn't been confirmed yet. It hasn't been verified yet. It could be wrong. So it's like it was not, and this is very true. Especially if you're covering this news, you do need to be aware of the fact that no, until it's verified, this record has not been achieved. It's like that is how it works. And also, I mean, to be fair, he's more sensitive to that than some, because he actually has... I don't remember... It's weird. It's a little weird. He does have a record, because he actually verified somebody else's record for a different constant. I don't remember which constant it was now. But I think his verification actually was faster. So he technically calculated the same constant more quickly. So it's like he is somewhat sensitive because of that. And the fact that, no, this is actually something that he's involved in. This competition to compute constants out further and faster than others. But also he talked about how he is sensitive to, because he also wants to... He explains it in the video that basically calculating pi, the math to do so is known and is understood. And getting the hardware optimized for it, that's where the trick is. And he thinks he has a way that he could significantly accelerate it and go a lot faster with it. But he needs like the right hardware, and he's hoping he can get his hands on that stuff to achieve, because pi is a long number, which is a stupid thing to say because it's actually infinite. There is no end to pi. But that means then that it takes up a lot of storage space to just hold the number out, however many digits. I don't remember how far this record now puts it. Hopefully this has fuel to do what I need to do. Nope. Wasn't. There. Nope. I'll get there eventually. But yeah, and it's... Oh, there it is. I was... E. I'm so used to E for interact. But yeah, so it is... I mean, I kind of hope he gets it, because at least if he does it, it's like, you know it's somebody from the community, although it's not quite that simple, I guess. Because, I mean, it's Dr. Ian Cuntras. Yes, he is part of the tech community and tech journalist community, but it's also... He does have a PhD, and he already does this kind of stuff. I mean, he's like, up there.
He's here. Aren't you?
But it's still, I mean, it's like, wouldn't you like to say that, a nerd like you, calculated out pi so however far and did it faster than anyone else has? I think that, but I am not. And I think I've definitely run out of things to talk about. Well, okay, there was one thing that I can talk about because it will let me fill out as I scan this. And I'm not going to the other. It's like, no. We've done enough. I've done enough. So, Splitgate, which I have been playing and have been enjoying. Although it's always annoying when you're in any multiplayer game and you reach the point where now the people you're matched with are better than you. And all you can do then is just force yourself to keep playing so that you get better, but also you eventually start being matched with the people that are as good or worse than you. It also really depends on what the match type is. But anyway, that has changed some. It is... We no longer have a release date for it. It has been... The open beta that's in currently has been extended indefinitely. And the reason makes sense. It's not unfair. That's basically... It has proven so popular that the developers at 1047 Games want more time to keep optimizing the back end and such. There we go. So yeah, hopefully it will be out of early access before long, but I mean it is going to be. It is technically close, so good. So yeah, a little disappointing that's basically lost its release date, but at least it is because they are so busy trying to continue improving it. Oh, neat. That ultimately the result should be, better than what we have now, which is still pretty fun. And it is also weird for me, because it's one of those, I know I'm an above average gamer, it's weird when I'm reminded of that. Like having a match where I know I'm not that great at first person shooters, and I don't really do multiplayer stuff, but it's weird to have a match where I think I ended 17 kills and 2 deaths. That's a bit weird. Even scary, because I'm not that good. But it's still a lot of fun, and I remember there was one match I played yesterday was like, I was not doing well. It was like, yeah, we're gonna lose, and it was so frustrating. And there was one time when it's like, how the hell did anyone kill me? What? I see the replay, and it's like, okay, that guy killed me with skill. I'm okay with this. Because I was trying to shoot at him, or actually, no, I don't. I started trying to shoot at him. He had already picked up that I was coming. Splitgate, for those that don't know, is basically first-person shooter combined with Portal. He shot one portal behind me. I didn't even figure out it was a portal. I thought he was shooting at me. Nope. He put the portal behind me, had another portal in front of him, turned to that, and just shot me in the back through the portal, which is exactly how you were supposed to play the game. And it's like, yes, he earned that kill. That pure skill. I cannot be upset about that at all, except for I wish I were that good. It's more so when it's like you're in a firefight with somebody and you both have the same gun, you both came in with full health, or at least you know you're at full health when you started, and somehow they kill you and they walk away just fine. It's like, I don't think I missed that many shots, but, that's where it gets frustrating. Or just where somehow they always find a way behind. But no, that game really can be a lot of fun. And also can be wild, just some things that get to happen in there because of the portals. Like, I remember one oddball, so you have to hold, it's a disco ball, for your team to gain points. I had it, I'm running around, and I'm holding it, so all I can do is, like, melee with it, but you can still open up portals. I just kept doing that, and I actually would, like, keep throwing myself back along the path I was just on. But I held it for like over 2 minutes or something. It was a ridiculously long period of time. And I think I got 5 or 6 kills where just somebody would come up behind me. I'd shoot the portal. I'd end up being out like 10 feet behind where I just was, which is behind them, come behind them, smash them, and keep going. It was just wild, but a lot of fun. For me, anyway. Those guys might not have been having fun. Sorry. How it goes. Sometimes. Alright, that's it. I gotta be going so I can get back to the GPU thermal article that I've been talking about I'm working on. Because, man, the writing is exhausting at times, but it's slow going in part because it's like, I should really go in and tweak how this is, and so I need to go into the scripts, change part of the scripts, debug what I just changed because obviously I did it wrong the first time, go through other scripts, make sure that those all have the right information, the right controls, and blah, 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 blah. And hey, it's already midnight, and I haven't been in a word for a while now. Great, but the graphs are better. Yeah, it's gonna be fun editing. Alright, I will do the editing first, because I know I need to rewrite. But yeah, anyhow, see you next time, and who knows, maybe I'll get lucky and actually finish the first draft of that article and can move on to other things. See you then.